The pristine blue water swirled down the drain as Karen's face went from smug satisfaction to pure horror. She'd claimed his pool, moved her entire family in, and called the police when he protested. But Marcus had one card left to play, and when that last gallon disappeared into the concrete tomb she'd made her kingdom, her scream of rage would echo through the entire neighborhood. Sometimes the only way to reclaim what's yours is to destroy it completely. Marcus Chen had always believed that good fences made good neighbors. The 8-foot privacy fence surrounding his backyard pool had cost him $3,000, but it was worth every penny for the peace of mind it provided. That peace shattered on a sweltering Tuesday morning in July when he stepped onto his deck with his morning coffee and found a woman in his pool. She floated on a rainbow unicorn raft, designer sunglasses perched on her nose, a mimosa in her manicured hand. 2 children splashed nearby, a boy of maybe 10 and a girl slightly younger, while a man Marcus didn't recognize lounged in one of his pool chairs, scrolling through his phone. "Excuse me," Marcus called out, his voice tight with controlled anger. "You're in my pool." The woman turned her head lazily in his direction, not bothering to remove her sunglasses. "Oh, you must be Marcus. I'm Karen Mitchell from next door. We just moved in last week." Marcus knew the house had sold. The previous owners, an elderly couple named the Hendersons, had been wonderful neighbors for the past 5 years. They'd kept to themselves, maintained their property, and never once set foot in his yard without permission. "Nice to meet you, but that doesn't explain why you're in my pool," Marcus said, stepping closer to the edge of the deck. Karen laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a hurricane. "Your pool? Honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding. This is my property. That's my pool. You need to get out now." The man in the chair looked up from his phone. Karen's husband, presumably. He was thin, pale, with the defeated look of someone who'd stopped fighting battles long ago. "Maybe we should—" "Don't you start, Brad," Karen snapped without looking at him. She turned back to Marcus, finally sitting up on her raft. "See, that's where you're wrong. Sweetie, I had our surveyor come out yesterday. This pool, it's actually on our property." "Well, mostly. The deep end crosses the property line by about 6 feet. Marcus felt his blood pressure spike. "That's impossible. I had this pool installed 3 years ago. I had my own survey done before." "Construction?" "Well, your surveyor was wrong." Karen's voice carried the smug certainty of someone who'd never been truly challenged. "I have the documents right inside if you'd like to see them." "Mom," the little girl called from the shallow end, "can we order pizza? I'm getting hungry." "Of course, sweetie. Brad, call Tony's. Get the usual." Karen turned back to Marcus. "You're welcome to join us if you want. It's not like we're being unreasonable here." Marcus stared at her, trying to process the sheer audacity. This woman had not only trespassed on his property, but was now claiming ownership and inviting him to be a guest at his own pool. "Get out," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Get out of my pool, off my property, and take your fake survey with you." Karen's expression hardened. "There's no need to be hostile, Marcus. This is a neighborhood. We're all going to be living here together for a long time. It's better if we can work things out amicably." "Amicably?" Marcus's voice rose despite his efforts to control it. "You broke into my backyard and claimed my pool." "I didn't break in. There's no fence between our properties on this side. And technically, if the pool is on our land, it's not on your land. The survey says otherwise." Marcus pulled out his phone. "Fine, I'm calling the police." Karen's laugh was sharper this time. "Go ahead, I'll show them my paperwork." As Marcus dialed 911, he noticed movement in the upstairs window of Karen's house. An older woman, Karen's mother maybe, watching the scene unfold. Great. The whole family was in on this. 911, what's your emergency? "I need police at 1247 Oakwood Drive. I have trespassers on my property who are refusing to leave. The dispatcher took his information and assured him officers would be there within 20 minutes. Marcus hung up and found Karen watching him with amusement. "You know what your problem is, Marcus?" she said, floating back toward the center of the pool. "You're not a problem solver, you're a problem creator. Lady, the only problem here is, you thinking you can steal my pool? I'm not stealing anything. I'm claiming what's rightfully mine based on a legal survey." She gestured around the pool area. "Besides, look at this place. You've let it get run down. The tile needs cleaning. The landscaping is a mess. We'll actually take care of it." Marcus looked around his yard. Sure, he'd been busy with work lately and hadn't kept up with every detail, but calling it run down was ridiculous. The pool was clean, the equipment was maintained, the grass was cut. "Kids," Karen called, "why don't you go get changed? We're going to have company soon, and I want you looking your best." The children obediently climbed out of the pool and headed toward Karen's house. Marcus noticed they didn't bother to dry, off leaving wet footprints across his deck and lawn. "Where do you think you're going?" he called after them. "To get more pool toys," the boy called back. "Mom said we could bring all our stuff over." Marcus turned back to Karen, who was now reapplying sunscreen with the casual confidence of someone who owned the place. "You can't be serious." Dead serious. "Brad, while you're calling Tony's, call the pool store too. We need more chlorine, and I want to look into getting one of those automatic vacuum things." Her husband, Brad, nodded weakly and headed toward their house. Marcus noticed the man wouldn't meet his eyes. "This is insane," Marcus muttered. "What's insane?" Karen said, settling back onto her raft. "Is you getting so worked up over a simple property dispute? These things happen all the time. Boundaries get confused, surveys get mixed up. The mature thing is to work together to find a solution. The solution is for you to get out of my pool. See, that's not a solution. That's just you being stubborn. A real solution would be something like a timeshare arrangement. You get the pool Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We get it Tuesdays, Thursdays, and weekends." Marcus stared at her. "You want to timeshare my pool? It's not your pool, remember? According to the survey—" "Stop saying that! Show me this magical survey." Karen sighed dramatically. "Fine. Brad, bring out the survey documents." Brad reappeared with a manila folder and several sheets of paper. He handed them to Marcus without a word, then retreated to his phone. Marcus spread the documents on his patio table. The survey was dated 6 months ago, before the Mitchells had even moved in. It showed the property lines clearly, and according to this document, the pool did indeed cross onto their property. But something was wrong. The measurements didn't match what Marcus remembered from his own survey. This survey showed his lot as being narrower than it actually was, and it was signed by someone from Precision Property Surveys, LLC, a company Marcus had never heard of. "This is fake," he said finally. Karen's head snapped up. "Excuse me?" "This survey is fake. The measurements are wrong, and I've never heard of this company. Are you calling me a liar?" "I'm calling this document fraudulent." The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees despite the blazing sun. Karen slowly paddled her raft to the pool's edge and climbed out, water dripping from her designer swimsuit. "Onto Marcus's deck. Let me make something very clear, Marcus," she said, her voice ice cold. "I don't appreciate being accused of fraud. That survey was conducted by a licensed professional, and it clearly shows that this pool is primarily on our property. Then you won't mind if I call this Precision Property Surveys company to verify it. Be my guest." Marcus pulled up the company name on his phone. No website, no listing in the local business directory, no reviews online. "Interesting," he said. "They don't seem to exist." Karen's jaw tightened. "Maybe they don't have a big online presence. Not every company does. Or maybe they don't exist because you made them up." The sound of sirens in the distance interrupted their standoff. Karen's expression shifted to one of smug satisfaction. "Well, I guess we'll let the police sort this out," she said, settling back onto her raft. Fair warning, though, I called them first. Marcus's blood ran cold. What do you mean you called them first? Oh, about an hour ago. I reported a harassment situation. Seems my new neighbor has been threatening me and my family over a property dispute. The police cruiser pulled into Marcus's driveway just as Karen's children returned with an arsenal of pool toys, inflatable dolphins, water guns, diving sticks, and what appeared to be a full-sized volleyball net. Officer Patricia Williams was a veteran cop in her 40s with the weathered look of someone who'd seen every kind of domestic dispute imaginable. She approached the scene with the weary confidence of experience. Someone called about trespassers? She asked. That would be me, Marcus said, stepping forward. These people broke into my backyard and are claiming my pool belongs to them. Officer Williams looked from Marcus to Karen, who was now floating serenely in the center of the pool as if she hadn't a care in the world. Ma'am, can you explain your side of this? Of course, officer, Karen said sweetly. There's been a simple misunderstanding about property boundaries. I have a survey showing that this pool is actually on our... Marcus didn't sleep that night. Every splash, every laugh, every clink of glass from his backyard felt like a physical assault. The Mitchells had stayed until nearly midnight, their voices carrying through his bedroom window as they discussed their plans for tomorrow's pool day. At 6 a.m., Marcus was already dressed and standing in his kitchen when he heard the first splash. He looked out to see Karen doing laps in his pool, her stroke smooth and practiced. She'd installed underwater LED lights, his broken pool light had been replaced with an entire light show that cycled through colors like some kind of nightclub. His phone buzzed. Another text from Karen. Morning. Hope we didn't keep you up too late. Fixed your light situation. Much better now. Also, we're expecting a pool cleaning service at 8 a.m. Could you make sure they can get through your side gate? Thanks. P.S. Your water pressure is terrible. Might want to get that looked at. Marcus screenshot the message and added it to a folder he'd created the night before titled Evidence. His lawyer, Jennifer Walsh, whom he'd retained at 7 a.m. via emergency consultation, had told him to document everything. Property disputes like this can get nasty, she'd warned him. If they're willing to forge documents, they'll be willing to do worse. Keep records of everything, every text, every conversation, every modification they make to your property. By 8 a.m., a van from Crystal Clear Pool Services was parked in Marcus's driveway. Two men in matching uniforms were hauling equipment through his yard while Karen directed them from the pool deck, wearing a silk robe that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Make sure you get all the leaves out of the skimmer, she was saying. And test the chemical levels. I want this water perfect. Marcus stepped outside. Excuse me, but who authorized you to be here? One of the pool technicians looked confused. Ma'am said she was the homeowner. We got a work order for weekly service starting today. I'm the homeowner, Marcus said firmly. There's been a misunderstanding. Karen emerged from her house, now fully dressed in designer athleisure that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly mortgage payment. Oh, Marcus, perfect timing. I was just explaining to these gentlemen about our arrangement. We don't have an arrangement. Well, since we're sharing the pool now, I thought it made sense to get professional maintenance. Don't worry, I'm covering the cost. Consider it my contribution to keeping our community space in top condition. The lead technician looked between them nervously. Look, folks, we don't want to get involved in any domestic disputes. Maybe you could work this out and call us when you're ready? There's no dispute, Karen said smoothly. Mr. Chen is just a little sensitive about changes. Aren't you, Marcus? The way she said his name, with just a hint of condescension, made his skin crawl. Get off my property, all of you. Sir, the technician said, if there's a question about who owns what, we really can't proceed. We'll need some kind of documentation. Karen was already pulling out her manila folder. Of course. Here's our property survey clearly showing that the pool area is primarily on our land. Marcus watched the technicians examine the forged documents. saw the exact moment they accepted them as legitimate. Within minutes, they were back to work, vacuuming his pool under Karen's watchful direction. His phone rang. Jennifer Walsh, his lawyer. "Marcus, I've got some news about that survey company. You were right. Precision Property Surveys, LLC doesn't exist as a licensed business in this state. But here's the interesting part. I found 3 other property disputes in the past year involving surveys from the same company. All 3 cases involved the same family moving in and claiming portions of their neighbor's property." Marcus felt a cold chill. The same family? Karen and Bradford Mitchell. They've done this before, Marcus. Twice in California, once in Nevada. Each time they moved into a house next to an expensive property feature, a pool, a tennis court, a large garden, and claimed it based on fraudulent surveys. What happened in those cases? That's where it gets interesting. In all 3 cases, the neighbors eventually sold their houses and moved away. The Mitchells would make life so unbearable that people just gave up and left. Marcus watched Karen directing the pool technicians like she was orchestrating a symphony. Professional house theft. Exactly. They find vulnerable properties, usually owned by single people or elderly couples without a lot of family support, move in next door, and systematically take over until the original owners can't stand it anymore. Then they buy the houses at below market prices. The pieces click together. The elderly Hendersons had sold their house quickly, quietly, for significantly less than market value. Marcus had thought it was strange at the time. The house was beautiful and should have gotten multiple offers. "Jennifer, I need you to contact the Hendersons. I think they might have been the Mitchells' previous victims." "Already on it. I'll call you back within an hour." Marcus hung up and watched Karen tip the pool technicians generously before they left. She caught him watching and waved cheerfully, as if they were old friends sharing a pleasant morning. His doorbell rang. Standing on his front porch was a man in his 60s wearing a suit despite the heat. He had the weathered look of someone who'd spent decades dealing with difficult people. "Mr. Chen? I'm Detective Ray Morrison with the Fraud Investigation Unit. I understand you've had some issues with a property survey." Marcus's heart leaped. "Yes, absolutely. Please come in." Detective Morrison stepped into Marcus's living room and pulled out a notebook. "I'll be direct with you, Mr. Chen. We've been tracking a family that specializes in property fraud. Karen and Bradford Mitchell. They've done this before." "My lawyer just told me the same thing." "Your lawyer's good. Most victims don't dig that deep." Morrison flipped through his notebook. "Here's what they do. They research properties with valuable outdoor features, buy the house next door, then immediately file fraudulent property surveys claiming ownership of the valuable features. They make life so miserable for the original owners that most people just give up and sell. But why don't people fight back? Because it's expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally exhausting. The Mitchells are experts at psychological warfare. They push just hard enough to make your life hell, but not so hard that they cross any clear legal lines. It's brilliant in its own twisted way." Marcus felt a surge of anger. "So they get away with it?" "Until now. We've been building a case, but we needed one more solid victim, someone with the resources and determination to fight back. Someone who wouldn't just fold and sell their house." Detective Morrison leaned forward. "Mr. Chen, I'm going to ask you to do something difficult. I need you to let them continue their game for a while longer. Let them get comfortable. Let them make mistakes. The more evidence we can gather, the stronger our case will be. You want me to let them keep using my pool? I want you to let them think they're winning. Document everything, but don't escalate. Not yet." Through his window, Marcus could see Karen setting up what appeared to be a full outdoor dining set on his deck. Her mother was directing the placement of a large umbrella, while her children were inflating a giant swan float. "How long?" Marcus asked. "Give us 2 weeks, maybe 3. I know it's hard, but..." A crash from outside interrupted them. Through the window, they could see that one of Karen's children had knocked over a planter, spilling soil across Marcus's deck. Karen was laughing, about it making no move to clean it up. 2 weeks, Marcus said grimly. After Detective Morrison left, Marcus tried to work from his home office, but concentration was impossible. The sounds from his backyard were constant: splashing, music, conversations, the scrape of furniture being moved around. Karen was treating his pool area like her personal construction project. Around noon, his doorbell rang again. This time it was a delivery truck from a high-end outdoor furniture store. 2 men were unloading a complete patio set: table, chairs, umbrellas, and what appeared to be a bar cart. "Delivery for Mitchell," the driver called out. "Around back," Marcus heard Karen's voice. "Just set everything up by the pool." Marcus stepped outside. "Excuse me, but you can't deliver furniture to my backyard." The delivery driver looked confused. "Lady said she was the homeowner." "I'm the homeowner." Karen appeared, now wearing a sundress that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly car payment. "Oh, Marcus, there you are. I was just upgrading our outdoor space. Don't worry, I'm covering all the costs. It's not our outdoor space, it's my backyard." "Well, technically, according to the survey—" "Stop. Just stop." Marcus turned to the delivery men. "Do not put that furniture on my property." Karen's expression shifted, the friendly mask slipping for just a moment. "Marcus, you're being unreasonable. This furniture is for everyone to enjoy. I don't want your furniture." "Fine." Karen's voice turned ice cold. "Gentlemen, please set up the furniture right at the property line. I believe that's about 6 feet from the pool edge, right where the deep end begins." The delivery men, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, began setting up the expensive patio set right at the edge of the pool deck. It was positioned so that anyone using it would have to walk through Marcus's yard to get to and from the pool. But technically, if Karen's survey was accurate, the furniture would be on her property. As they worked, more delivery trucks arrived. A refrigerator company BR. By day 5 of the Mitchell occupation, Marcus's backyard looked like a luxury resort that had spawned overnight. Karen had installed a gazebo, upgraded the sound system to concert-level equipment, and somehow acquired a hot tub that required electrical work Marcus was certain hadn't been permitted. But Marcus had been busy too. The security system he'd installed was military-grade: motion sensors, infrared cameras, audio recording devices hidden throughout his property. Every conversation, every modification, every moment of Karen's psychological campaign was being documented in crystal-clear 4K video. What Karen didn't know was that Marcus had also been busy with research of his own. "Jennifer," he said into his phone, standing in his home office while watching Karen direct the installation of what appeared to be a full outdoor kitchen. "I found something interesting about our neighbors." "What kind of interesting?" "The criminal kind. Karen Mitchell isn't just a property fraud specialist. She's got a history of insurance scams, bankruptcy fraud, and identity theft. Her real name is Karen Kowalski, and she's wanted in 3 states." Through his window, Marcus watched Karen testing a wood-fired pizza oven that definitely hadn't been there the day before. The smell of burning wood was already drifting across the neighborhood. "How did you find that out?" "I hired a private investigator. Turns out Karen's been very busy over the past 15 years. The property scam is just her latest evolution. Before that, she was running insurance fraud schemes, slip and falls, fake injuries, staged accidents. Before that, she was involved in a multi-level marketing scheme that bilked elderly people out of their retirement savings." Marcus pulled up the file on his computer. "The best part? She's currently on probation in Nevada for filing fraudulent insurance claims. Moving to another state and committing more fraud is a parole violation. That changes everything. Have you told Detective Morrison? He's coming over in an hour, but there's more." Marcus scrolled through the investigator's report. "Bradford isn't her husband. His real name is Danny Voss, and he's her longtime partner in crime. They've been running scams together for over a decade. The kids aren't even theirs. They're Danny's from a previous relationship, and according to court records, he doesn't have legal custody. A crash from outside interrupted his reading. Through the window, Marcus could see that one of Karen's party guests had knocked over his expensive outdoor sculpture, shattering it on the concrete deck. Karen glanced at the destruction, shrugged, and continued her conversation as if nothing had happened. She just destroyed a $2,000 sculpture and didn't even acknowledge it, Marcus said into the phone. Document it. Every single thing. Oh, I am. But Jennifer, I'm done playing defense. After hanging up, Marcus reviewed the plan he'd been developing. Detective Morrison wanted 2 weeks of evidence, but Marcus's private investigator had provided something better, a way to end this immediately. At 2 p.m., Detective Morrison arrived with backup, 2 officers from the fraud unit and a U.S. Marshal. Karen was hosting another pool party, this one apparently celebrating the completion of her outdoor kitchen installation. Marcus watched from his window as Detective Morrison approached Karen, who was holding court from a floating lounge chair that looked like it belonged in a 5-star resort. Karen Kowalski? Detective Morrison's voice carried across the yard. Marcus saw Karen's face change, the confident mask slipping completely for the first time since this ordeal began. She paddled quickly to the pool's edge and climbed out. I think you have me confused with someone else, officer. My name is Karen Mitchell. Ma'am, please step out of the pool area and put your hands where I can see them. The party guests began backing away, sensing trouble. Karen's children, Danny's children, stood frozen by the outdoor kitchen, their faces showing the kind of confusion that comes from watching adults lie about things they don't understand. There must be some mistake, Karen said, but her voice had lost all its previous authority. I'm just having a neighborhood pool party, in a pool that doesn't belong to you, using a fraudulent property survey while violating your probation in Nevada. Detective Morrison pulled out his handcuffs. Karen Kowalski, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, parole violation, and trespassing. Marcus stepped onto his deck as Karen was being handcuffed. For the first time in a week, her attention was completely focused on him. You son of a bitch! She snarled, all pretense of neighborly friendliness gone. You have no idea what you've done. Actually, I know exactly what I've done, Marcus said calmly. I've stopped a career criminal from stealing my property. Detective Morrison was reading Karen her rights when Danny Bradford emerged from the house carrying what appeared to be a suitcase full of documents. Danny Voss? The U.S. Marshal stepped forward. You're also under arrest. Outstanding warrants in California for identity theft and fraud. As both adults were led away in handcuffs, the pool party guests dispersed like roaches when the lights come on. Within minutes, Marcus's backyard went from resort-level chaos to eerie silence. The children stood by the outdoor kitchen looking lost and scared. Marcus felt a pang of sympathy. Whatever their parents had done, these kids were innocent victims. What about them? Marcus asked Detective Morrison. Child Services is on the way. The kids will be placed with relatives while we sort out the custody situation. Marcus looked at the children, a boy who couldn't be more than 10 and a girl even younger, and made a decision that surprised even himself. Officer, would it be possible for them to stay here until their relatives arrive? I mean, they're scared. Enough already. They don't need to be traumatized further. Detective Morrison looked surprised. That's unusually generous, given what you've been through. They're kids. This isn't their fault. 2 hours later, after the police had left and Child Services had contacted the children's grandmother in Arizona, Marcus found himself in the surreal position of hosting the children of the people who had tried to steal his pool. The boy, whose real name was Tyler, sat on Marcus's couch staring at the floor. The girl, Sophia, was curled up in a chair, clutching a stuffed animal that looked like it had seen better days. Are you going to call the police on us, too? Tyler asked quietly. No. Marcus said. You didn't do anything wrong. Mom said we were going to have a real home this time, with a pool and everything. Sophia's voice was small and sad. She said you were a mean man who didn't like kids. Marcus felt his heart break a little. These children had been living their entire lives as props in their parents' criminal schemes, never staying in one place long enough to make real friends or feel secure. I'm not mean, Marcus said gently. And you know what? Until your grandmother gets here, you can use the pool if you want. Tyler looked up for the first time. Really? Really. But there are rules. No running on the pool deck, no diving in the shallow end, and you have to ask before you use anything. The transformation was immediate. Both children brightened, and within minutes they were splashing in the pool, not with the chaotic energy of Karen's parties, but with the simple joy of kids being kids. As Marcus watched them play, his phone rang. Jennifer Walsh. Marcus, I just heard from Detective Morrison. Congratulations. You've single-handedly brought down a criminal enterprise that's been operating for over a decade. It doesn't feel like a victory yet. There's still all of Karen's improvements to deal with. Through his window, Marcus could see the outdoor kitchen, the tiki bar, the gazebo, the hot tub, and dozens of other additions that Karen had installed with the confidence of someone who owned the place. About that, Jennifer said, I've got good news. Since all of those improvements were made to your property without your permission, you can either keep them or have them removed at Karen's expense. The court will order full restitution. And the property line dispute? What property line dispute? Karen's survey was fraudulent, remember? Your original property boundaries stand. Everything she installed is on your land, installed without permits, and technically constitutes criminal damage to your property. Marcus looked out at his transformed backyard. The outdoor kitchen was actually quite nice, and the landscaping had turned his simple pool area into something that looked like it belonged in a luxury resort. What if I wanted to keep some of it? Then you'd own it free and clear. Plus Karen would owe you damages for the disruption to your life, unauthorized use of your property, and emotional distress. We're talking about a significant settlement, Marcus. After Jennifer hung up, Marcus walked outside to check on the children. They were playing a gentle game of Marco Polo, careful to follow the rules he'd established. Mr. Chen? Tyler swam over, to the pool's edge. My mom. Is she going to jail? Marcus considered how to answer truthfully without traumatizing the kid further. Your mom made some bad choices, Tyler. When adults make bad choices, sometimes they have to face consequences. She always said the rules were different for smart people, that we were smarter than everyone else, so we could do things other people couldn't. Sophia joined her brother at the pool's edge. Will we have to move again? I don't know, Marcus said honestly. But your grandmother is coming to get you, and she loves you very much. You'll be safe with her. As the sun began to set, Marcus ordered pizza for the three of them. They ate on the deck, his deck, while 3 months after Karen's arrest, Marcus stood in his transformed backyard, watching a crew from Chen Pool and Landscape Design put the finishing touches on what had become the neighborhood's crown jewel. What Karen had installed illegally, Marcus had turned into a legitimate business venture. The irony was delicious. Mr. Chen called Maria Santos, his new business partner and the landscape architect who'd helped him turn Karen's chaotic additions into a cohesive design masterpiece. The photographer from Home and Garden magazine is here for the shoot. Marcus nodded, adjusting his tie. The magazine feature would be titled From Property Theft to Paradise: How One Homeowner Turned a Criminal Invasion into a Business Empire. It wasn't the kind of publicity he'd ever expected, but it was certainly effective marketing. His phone buzzed. Detective Morrison. Marcus, I've got news about the Kowalski case. You sitting down? Should I be? We've identified 43 victims across 7 states using those template documents you found. The fraud network was bigger than we imagined. Karen wasn't just running individual scams, she was franchising the operation, teaching other people how to steal property using her methods. Marcus walked to the edge of his pool, watching the photographer capture the seamless integration of the outdoor kitchen, tiki bar, and gazebo that Karen had installed. How much are we talking about? Conservative estimate? $12 million in stolen property value over the past 5 years. But here's the kicker. Because you fought back and documented everything, we've been able to freeze all their assets. Every house they've stolen, every fraudulent transaction, every fake identity they've used. The photographer was now taking shots of the custom signage Marcus had installed, Chen pool and landscape design, turning dreams into reality. Below it, in smaller text, specializing in property recovery and restoration. What's Karen's sentence looking like? 15 to 20 years, federal prison. Danny's looking at 12 to 15. The property fraud charges were just the beginning. Once we started digging, we found tax evasion, money laundering, identity theft, welfare fraud. The FBI is calling it one of the largest residential property theft rings they've ever busted. She smiled grimly. And the restitution? That's why I'm calling. The court has ordered full compensation for all victims, plus punitive damages. Your share comes to approximately $2.8 million. Marcus nearly dropped his phone. I'm sorry, what? The court calculated damages based not just on your pool modifications, but on the emotional distress, the disruption to your business, the security measures you had to install, and your role in bringing down the entire operation. Plus, you're getting a percentage of the recovered assets as a whistleblower reward. As Detective Morrison explained the financial details, Marcus watched the home and garden photographer capture every angle of his backyard paradise. What had started as Karen's attempt to steal his pool had inadvertently launched him into the landscape design business. The magazine feature would be his third major media appearance this month. There's something else, Detective Morrison continued. Karen's been trying to contact you from prison. She's requested a face-to-face meeting. Marcus paused. What does she want? She won't say. Just keeps insisting she needs to talk to you in person. Says it's about unfinished business. Tell her to write me a letter. I'm busy running the company she accidentally helped me start. After hanging up, Marcus reviewed the day's schedule. 3 client consultations for pool installations, 2 design meetings for landscape projects, and a conference call with his attorney about expanding the business to other states. Chen Pool and Landscape. Design had grown from an accidental discovery to a legitimate enterprise in just 3 months. The story of how Marcus had turned a property theft attempt into a business opportunity had attracted customers from across the region. His waiting list was now 6 months long. Mr. Chen? The photographer approached with a tablet full of images. These shots are incredible. The transformation is remarkable. Would you mind if we got a few photos of you by the pool? Our readers love a good success story. As Marcus posed by the infinity edge pool that Karen's modifications had made possible, his phone rang. Jennifer Walsh. Marcus, we just got word from the court. Karen's assets are being liquidated and you're inheriting some interesting properties. What kind of properties? Remember that house in Nevada where Karen ran her insurance scams? It's yours now. Same with the California property where she operated her MLM scheme. The court is transferring ownership to victims based on their damages, and you're getting the biggest chunk. Marcus looked around his backyard oasis. Jennifer, I don't want to be a landlord in Nevada. You don't have to be. I've already got buyers lined up. Conservative estimate, you're looking at another $1.2 million in property sales, minus taxes and fees. The photographer was now taking shots of the custom outdoor bar that had become the centerpiece of Marcus's entertaining area. What Karen had installed as a theft had become the foundation of Marcus's new social life. The neighborhood pool parties he now hosted were legendary, and nothing like Karen's chaotic invasions. There's more, Jennifer continued. 3 other victims have contacted me about hiring Chen Pool and Landscape Design. Apparently, when Karen's modifications were removed from their properties, they realized they actually wanted some of those features. They want you to reinstall them legally. Marcus shook his head in amazement. Karen's criminal enterprise was generating legitimate business leads even from prison. After the magazine shoot, Marcus drove to his office, a converted warehouse, space he'd rented to manage his growing business. The walls were covered with before and after photos of client projects, architectural drawings, and a large map marked with pins showing completed installations. At the center of the office was a framed copy of Karen's original fraudulent survey, with a plaque underneath. Every problem is an opportunity, if you're smart enough to see it. His assistant, Janet, met him at the door with a stack of messages. Mr. Chen, you've got 17 new client inquiries, 2 interview requests from business magazines and... She paused, looking uncomfortable. A letter from the Nevada State Prison. Marcus took the letter, recognizing Karen's handwriting on the envelope. The return address confirmed it was from her. He debated throwing it away unopened, but curiosity won. He tore open the envelope and pulled out 3 pages of handwritten text. Marcus, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need you to understand something. What happened between us wasn't personal. It was just business. You were a mark, nothing more. But you were different from the others. They always folded eventually. You fought back smart. I respect that. Here's what you need to know. I wasn't working alone. The property fraud network was bigger than the police realize. There are people still out there. People who knew about our operation, who know about you. You cost them millions of dollars, Marcus. You think this ends with me in prison? You're naive. I'm writing to warn you because, believe it or not, I don't want to see you get hurt. You won fair and square. But the others, they don't see it that way. Watch your back. Trust no one. And whatever you do, don't think this is over just because I'm locked up. There's something else. Check the crawl space under your deck. 3rd support beam from the left north side. I left something there that you're going to want to find before they do. Karen P.S. Your business is impressive. In another life, we could have been partners instead of enemies. Marcus read the letter twice, his hands shaking slightly. He'd thought Karen's arrest had ended the threat, but apparently it had only eliminated one piece of a larger puzzle. He drove home immediately, grabbing a flashlight from his garage before heading to the deck. The crawl space was tight and filled with spider webs, but Marcus found the 3rd support beam exactly where Karen had indicated. Taped to the underside was a waterproof bag containing a USB drive and a handwritten note. Insurance policy. Everything you need to know about the others. Use it wisely. Kay back in his office, Marcus plugged the USB drive into his computer. What he found made his blood run cold. The drive contained detailed files on dozens of criminals involved in Karen's network. Names, addresses, photographs, bank account numbers, and most importantly, a list of their next targets. Property owners across the country who had been researched and marked for future theft operations. But one file made Marcus's heart stop. His own name was listed under cleanup operations. There were photos of his house, his office, his car, details about his daily routine, his business associates, his financial accounts. The note attached to his file was chilling. Primary target eliminated network. Requires permanent resolution. Authorized for extreme measures. Marcus immediately called Detective Morrison, then Jennifer Walsh, then his private investigator. Within 2 hours, his office was filled with law enforcement officials reviewing Karen's final gift. This changes everything, Detective Morrison said, studying the files. This isn't just property fraud anymore. These people are planning to hurt you, Marcus. How many others are there? Based on these files, at least 30 active criminals in 12 states, and they're all connected to a central organization that coordinates their operations. FBI agent Sarah Chen, no relation, despite the name, had joined the Mitai,